Where do I start? This is probably the most common question I get asked. As a safety coach, people ask me, David, I know I'm supposed to have safety programs, I'm supposed to have safety training, I'm supposed to have safety inspections, but where do I start? Well, if you've ever wondered that, then this episode is for you. Today, I want to talk about the 6 safety steps. This is the process that I walk safety managers through so that they have a clear program and a step-by-step procedure to keep their people safe. So we're going to dive into the 6 different steps for making your company safe, because no one should get hurt at work. Let's check it out. Hey, before we dive into the video, if you haven't done so already, please go to my website, Help with OSHA, download a free safety audit checklist. This is the best way to understand what OSHA is going to look for when they come into your facility. You can download an OSHA audit checklist just by going to my website. It's right on the homepage, and this is the best way to prepare your team and your company for an unexpected OSHA audit. So let's talk about the safety steps. Where do you start? Start with step 1. So the safety steps are designed to help you simply break down step by step what you need to do to get your team ready. So the very first step, the very first thing on the list, when you get hired, whether it's your first day on the job or you've been working there for a while and now you're being moved into the role of a safety manager or you're wearing the hat of a safety manager, step number 1 is do a safety assessment. A safety assessment. So a safety assessment means I'm going to look for things that are going to hurt my employees. Now, this might be major things, this might be minor things, but a safety assessment is the first step, and what we're going to do is we're going to find out where is someone most likely to get hurt. In fact, that's probably the most important question you can ask. Where is someone most likely to get hurt on the job? Ask your supervisors this. Ask your managers this. Find out where is someone most likely to get hurt. Because there's 2 kinds of accidents. 2 big categories. There are accidents where someone gets seriously hurt. This might be an amputation. This could even be a fatality. These are major accidents. These are major injuries. Hopefully they don't happen, and the probability of them happening is very, very low, but the consequence is very, very high. So you have serious accidents. These kind of fly under the radar. People don't usually think about it. But where is someone most likely to get seriously hurt? And then the other side is frequent accidents, where is somebody likely to slip, to trip, to get cut, to get smashed fingers. What are frequent accidents? So that's what we're looking for, because there's a scale, right? There's a scale of this is how serious it is up at the top. This is how minor it is here. And then over here, this is how frequent it is. And this is how least frequent it is. Now, your serious injuries, they're going to be up here. They don't happen very often, but they happen. When they happen, they're big. And then your frequent accidents, these happen more often, but when they happen, they're usually minor. So we want to understand, where is someone most likely to get hurt? That's this one. Where is someone most likely to get seriously hurt? That's this one, okay? Identify that. That's one of the most important things you can do, and it's a great way to understand where you need to focus your attention on. A safety assessment is the first step. So that's step number 1. Step number 2. Step number 2 is understanding where you're going and where you've been. So step 2 is you're going to dig through past records. So accident logs and injury records. Now, a few things to keep in mind. You should have an OSHA 300 log right now. Like for this year, I'm making this video in 2025. It's the beginning of the year. You should have an accident log for 2025. Hopefully it's got zeros on it, but it's got the date, it's got the establishment address. This is a log that has to be continually filled out throughout the year. Again, I hope you have all zeros on it, but it's still got to be there. You need to have 5 years worth of records of your accident logs. So you should be able to go back 5 years in time. Now, if you're new to safety, one of the first things is finding out where are these? Where are they kept? There should be hard copies and there should be electronic copies. There should be digital copies. This could be scanned in, could be saved on a computer, but you need to have both of them. You should have 5 years of hard copies. You should have 5 years of electronic copies, and obviously they need to be the same thing. You should have the electronic copies are nothing more than the hard copies that have been scanned in, okay? So, as I'm making this video, it's 2025. I need one for this year. I need one for 2024, 2023, 2022, 2021, and just to be nice and round it off, 2020. So I should be going back 5 years of information. I don't need one from 2013. Don't need it, right? But the reason we do this is because when we're doing step number 1, we're trying to find out where is someone most likely to get hurt. This research will tell you where you've had past accidents. Where have you had problems in the past? What department were the employees in that got injured? What job were they doing? What training did they have? So this is a great way to understand what happened before you got in the seat you're in now. So it's really, really important. Understand past records, get them organized, get them to where you can put your hands on them quickly, okay? So that's step number 2. Now, you're not supposed to do all 6 of these steps in one day. It takes time, but this is the process. So the first step, again, safety assessment. Second step, we're digging into records. We're digging into accident logs. We're organizing our records. The third step, step number 3 of the safety steps, is going to be all about priorities. Prioritize your training and your programs. So the way this works, this is a big chunk. I mentioned earlier, we're not doing all this in one thing. So a big chunk of safety training is understanding where do I need to focus my time. I'll tell you right now, the most common hazards, the most common places someone gets seriously hurt on the job or somebody gets killed on the job is usually dealing with one of 3 areas. Confined space entry, fall protection from falling out of a platform, falling out of a scissor lift, falling off of a mezzanine, falling off of a ladder, and lockout tagout. So confined space, fall hazards, lockout tagout. Those are always at the top of the list for serious accidents. So you need to figure those programs in. Now, every company is different. Your location is going to be different than someone else's. So you need to understand when you do the safety assessment, you go, okay, we got a lot of machines, guarding, lockout, tagout, those are top of our list. We don't have a lot of ladders or platforms, so fall protection's low, We have no confined spaces in the work area, so that one is low. So where are we focused in on? We're gonna focus in on machine guarding, lockout, tagout. Those are the two things. Oh, by the way, we realized we don't have elevated platforms, but we got a lot of forklifts. So powered industrial trucks would be on the list. Now, you want to know what are the key programs. We are going to focus on the programs where someone is most likely to get hurt. There's two parts. You have written programs. This is your game plan. This is the map. This is the roadmap for what we're going to do. So as an example, if I'm saying, hey, lockout, tagout, I've got to have a lockout, tagout program. I've got to have training for my guys and my gals. I've got to have machine specific procedures for each piece of equipment. I got to make sure I got the right tools and the right lockout equipment. Got to make sure people got tags. Got to make sure people got locks. So I've got a written program that's going to outline all of this. And then once I have the program to where I know what the game plan is, what do you got to do with the game plan? Boom, boom. You've got to coach it. You've got to teach it. You've got to train it. So that's your next step. So I got the written programs. Now I'm going to do employee training. The name of my company is Port City Training for a reason. I love training. I love it. To me, that's what's the most fun of all. I like getting in front of people and doing training. So I've developed safety training packages to help you and provide tools so you can provide quality training for your employees that keeps them awake while they're doing the training. So if you need help with training, please check this out. Check out Help with OSHA. I've got lots of packages to help you out with safety training. But you don't start with the training, you start with the program, because that gives you the guidelines and the handbook, so to say, to get it done. So written programs, training, prioritize. You should pick 3 to 5 that are your most important programs. So in the example I just gave, we've got powered industrial truck, we've got machine guarding, we've got lockout, tagout. Those are our 3 programs. Now, what else do we need to have? We got to have emergency evacuation, right? We got to have fire prevention. We've got to have PPE, right? So there's certain programs that you have to have, and we're going to do those, but we want to prioritize the ones where people are most likely going to get hurt first, because that's the goal. The goal, yes, we want to meet the OSHA standards. We want to have everything tied up with a bow on it, but we've got to start with the most important programs first. So step number 3, prioritize. Prioritize your training. All right, so where do we go from here? Step number 4. Step number 4. This is where people sometimes get lost in the weeds. Step number 4 is consistent training and inspections. So there's an age-old management saying, you have to inspect what you expect. So after we've done lockout, tagout, we've done the written program, we've got procedures, we've trained our employees, are they just going to do it? They're going to do it. We don't have to worry about it. We don't got to go back and look at it. We all know that's not true. You have to go back and inspect what you expect. So what we do here is we do consistent inspections. We do consistent training. One of the best ways to have consistent training is to have a dedicated day of the week where you're doing a toolbox talk. I call them standing safety talks, literally standing up, talking with your crew, talking with your team, going over safety for that day, going over safety for that week, for that department. So we want to have consistent times where safety is done. When do we do inspections? When do we do a walk? So times, walks, inspections, these are all things that will keep the main thing the main thing. And that's what we want to do. We want to have safety to where we've zoned in, we've focused in on those 3 to 5 programs, and now we're going back and we're checking on it, and we're hitting it, and we're checking on it, and we're hitting it, and we're checking on it. That way people know we mean business. We didn't just set it and forget it. We're going back and we're looking at it. We're going back and we're looking at it. Okay? So that's step number 4. Step number 5. Step number 5 is when you tie a bow. If I could draw a bow, I would. But you tie a bow on the programs. So we started out prioritizing it so we know we're going to focus on those 3 to 5 programs. We're going to write the programs. We're going to fill in the details. We're going to train on the programs. Then we're going to go back and we're going to follow up with consistent training, with consistent inspections to make sure people know that. This might take, if you got 3 to 5 programs, I'd say honestly it usually takes about a month a program, depending on the size of your company. But to really do a good job, you're going to say, hey, we're going to do lockout, tag out. It's going to take 1 or 2 months to get it done. Then we're going to reinforce it, reinforce it, reinforce it. So just kind of making it easy in a time frame, you might look at the second half of the year. This is when we're tying a bow and we're going back and we're doing PPE. We're doing fire protection. We're doing hearing conservation. We're doing ladder safety. We're doing, you fill in whatever required program that you have. Those required programs have to be done. They're required. We want to make sure we're doing a pre-shift inspection on our forklifts. We want to make sure we got trained operators. We want to make sure we're doing everything. We're crossing the T's, we're dotting the I's, and it's done. But when we tie a bow, this is the second half. So you got the first half over here, you got the second half over here. These are the main priorities. Got to get these done. Over here, they've got to be done also, but they're not the top of the list. And the whole time, you're going to have to go back and check on these. Go back and check on these. Go back and check on these. So, one of the things I do as a safety coach is I help busy managers set up a schedule so they don't forget about what they've already done. You need to celebrate the wins you have. When you get that lockout, tagout program complete, it feels good. We got to go back and make sure people are actually doing it. We got to go back and make sure that people still have the tools, that there's not a gap in the training. So that's step number 5. The final step, step number 6. This is one of my favorite steps. I grew up in the world of boat building. I grew up in the world of manufacturing. I got a sweet spot in my heart for it. And step number 6 is something we call continuous improvement. Now, what I mean by that is you're never done. You're never done. Things can always be better. So if step 5 is we tie a bow on the safety programs, on the training, on the inspections, step 6 means continuous improvement. We have to have a schedule so that we are going back and we are reviewing the safety programs that we just finished. So there should be a normal motion where we are going back and we're checking and say, hey, we started with lockout tagout. We're going to go review lockout tagout. We had machine guarding. We're going to review machine guarding. We're going to check on the training records. We're going to check on the inspection frequency. We're going to check on where we can improve. And a big part of continuous improvement is taking it off of your shoulders and putting on other people's. And what I mean is you got to have input. You got to have a safety committee, what I call a safety team. You got to have managers and supervisors that have input. Developing an incentive program where people are getting incentivized to come up with better, safer ways of doing the job. So continuous improvement, having a schedule, making sure that you're going back and you're reviewing. This is a way that safety continues to grow. What I absolutely hate, and I've seen this firsthand, where I went in and I helped a company 10 years ago, put programs in place, something changed for whatever reason, and I wasn't there anymore, and then I'd get brought back. They go, hey David, we want you to come back and help us get our ship back in order. And I get back in there and I look around, I'm like, nothing's been done in 10 years. There hasn't been a single change in 10 years to the programs, to the training, to the inspections. Now there's been a whole lot of changes to the equipment, and we've got a whole new line, we've got new managers, we got new names, we got new CPR first aid responders, we got new everywhere else. But when it comes to safety, everything's exactly the same. In fact, you pull it out and you blow the dust off of it because it's just been sitting there. Safety should not be sitting there. Safety is something that's got to have continuous improvement. If you're not moving forward, you're moving backwards. And the problem is, and I don't want to get on my soapbox here, but the problem is safety is the kind of thing that when you're doing it right, nothing happens. In fact, lots of times nothing happens. And then when something does happen, when you have an employee that gets seriously hurt on the job, people go back and they go, what happened to the procedure we were doing before? Well, we stopped doing that a year and a half ago. Nobody noticed. We got to be the squeaky wheel that notices. We got to be looking for continuous improvement. So, just to recap, if you haven't already, download a free copy of the safety steps. This is my guide that I help busy managers walk through the steps with them as a safety coach. I'm kind of like a personal trainer, right? It's a new year. Lots of times people want to lose weight for the new year, and they know what they should do in their head, but they don't have the accountability or the guidance or the clarity to get it done. I help companies do that. So I'd encourage you looking to get in a coach when it comes to safety. I'd be glad to guide you and show you these 6 steps: safety assessment, making sure that you got the accident records organized, making sure you're prioritizing your training and your programs according to how somebody would get hurt. Number 4, consistent communication and inspections. 5, tying a bow on it, making sure all the safety requirements are met. And then the very last one, stay the course, continuous improvement. Those are the safety steps. Sometimes you got to bounce back and forth between them, but that is a great way. It's a great system to keep you moving in the right direction. So, until we talk again, do everything you can to keep the people you work with safe, because no one should get hurt at work.